I've spent the last 2 years playing Halo Infinite pretty consistently, and I think I can pretty much narrow down the biggest issues that Halo Infinite has is that the game suffers from trends. And the two biggest trends that the game suffers from is its free-to-play nature and the way it monetizes itself. Now, I think the biggest reason Halo Infinite suffers, number one, is its free-to-play nature. And I don't think free-to-play games are inherently bad, and I don't think Halo Infinite being free-to-play was inherently a bad idea. The issue is the execution of its post-launch support and its launch. Those are the things that made the free-to-play game really bad. Because if a game sucks at launch and a year after launch, most people are just going to assume the game sucks forever, and a lot of fans are going to be really turned off by it, even if it becomes a good game. Like, I had a video talking about how the game is good now. A lot of people were very vocally against it, and I don't blame them because they had a bad experience at launch or a post-launch, and there's still some issues with the game today that are being resolved 2 years after its release. For anyone who may have forgotten how bad Halo Infinite's launch was, the game didn't even launch with a Team Slayer. The literal most basic game mode in any FPS or just shooting game period. And the post-launch was bad too because we had to wait a year for Forge, a year for custom browser. We had to wait a lot of months for a Team Slayer playlist. We got 2 seasons in a year. We hardly had any maps. And overall, content was really dry because they just were not prepared to launch Halo Infinite. And I think they were okay launching Halo Infinite like that for us to all play because it was a free-to-play game. And this is just conjecture on my part, but I feel like they did that because they thought it would be acceptable to do it because the game was free, which I adamantly disagree with. First impressions are everything. Again, I made a video about how Halo Infinite is good now, like 2 years after the game launched, and I got a lot of pushback in the comments, which I understand completely, because it took 2 years for the game to get good. That tells you how bad post-launch and launch was for the game. And lastly, Halo Infinite's networking is absolutely terrible, and they are updating it, and at least from the updated playlists that I played when they were available, it was a lot better. But I think the game released with its terrible networking and abundance of desync because it was free to play. And this is all just my opinion because there's no other logical explanation I can come up with on why Halo Infinite released in such a poor state. It had to be because it was free to play. That had to be what they used to excuse it because there's no other excuse for it. The next trend that I will also be talking about that I mentioned earlier is the monetization, and I think this is especially heinous because of its free-to-play nature and the fact that 343 likes to copy other companies' monetization. They did that in Halo 5 with the loot boxes, and now they did it with Halo Infinite with the Fortnite monetization scheme and the battle passes. And I don't mind the battle passes in Halo Infinite. Overall, I think they're actually better than a lot of games because there's no FOMO in them. You're not going to miss out. You could do the Season 1 battle pass today, even though the game's been out for 2 years. And the Operation battle passes are only $5 if you miss completing the whole event for free. So you're never really missing out and you have an opportunity to get them and they're reasonably priced. For 20 items, it's $5. I don't think that's a big deal. But I really hate the Fortnite monetization scheme because you have to spend more money. Like, you'll have to spend $15 on a $12 to $13 item instead of being able to spend $12 to $13. And they do it by doing the in-game currency bundles instead of just being able to use the United States money or whatever your country is. And I absolutely hate it because they're making you spend more for less. If an item is $11 or a bundle is $11, you should be able to spend $11. You shouldn't have to spend $15 and then have $4 left over. And they do that because they want you to spend more for less. And then you'll have that little extra left over and you'll be more happy to spend next time around so you're not wasting that amount. It's just really scummy and I wish it was more consumer friendly and straightforward. I also think that the monetization is a big reason why we don't have things like armor color and custom emblems anymore, is because they thought it would be easier to transfer over to nameplates and armor coatings, which is the worst thing Halo Infinite has ever invented. And it's not bad if it was a part of the armor color system, but now I've been waiting years to get just a normal cadet white, and it may never come. And yeah, I got bleached bone, and there's the, I think, Void Ultra one, but those look like crap in my opinion. I just want generic white Spartan with a black undersuit so I can dress up like a stormtrooper. And I also think that's why career progression was put on the back burner until Season 4, is because they wanted to monetize the way we did progression, which was through the Battle Pass. And again, the Battle Pass itself isn't bad, but it's really bad that it took over a year for us to get any sort of career progression when every other new Halo game, past Halo 3 and onwards, we had career progression when the game came out. I really do think those two things really hurt Halo Infinite badly, and it's not the fact that it was free to play and monetized. There's nothing wrong with free to play games, and in fact, free to play games are very popular because obviously there's no barrier to entry, and I think it's overall a good thing, and I'm glad Halo Infinite went free to play. I'm just not glad how 343 handled the launch and post-launch and how much they cut for monetization. If they didn't do those things, if they would have done things right and proper, we would have a game that people universally love, but now we're stuck with a game that people are forever going to hate, even if it is good in my opinion. And I will quickly bring this up, but if you want to look at the campaign side, I think the open world nature of Halo Infinite really hurt the campaign because, for one, there's no biodiversity whatsoever in the open world. It feels like you're just playing a longer extension of the second mission of Halo Combat Evolved. There's a lot of cut content to the game that we saw in the trailers, like the wildlife, like the deer and I think the rhino creatures and stuff like that. And in my opinion, if you're going to put something in a trailer, it should be in the game. Also, there were things missing at launch for the campaign, like mission replay, online co-op, and they canceled couch co-op when they said it would be in the game, which you should never promise a feature in a game and then cancel it. That makes you look like liars. And I'm glad the people that promised that are gone from the company now, but the damage is done on that front. Also, I'd like to say that I think mission diversity was really hurt by the open world too, because if it was a linear game, they could have put more resources into making the single player missions more elaborate, because Halo Reach had the big assault, the stealth mission, it had the hopeless situation, there was the mission where you're in the Saber, the mission you were in the Falcon. There was just a lot of diversity in the missions, but in Halo Infinite, it's like you're going down hallways, right? And there's some missions that are a little different, like near the end when you gotta go rescue the pilot, you get into that Scorpion tank. But just the diversity between Halo Reach or even Halo Combat Evolved to Halo Infinite, it's just lacking, and it has to do with the open world. I wish they integrated the campaign more with the open world because they feel like two different things. Now, let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you agree with me that trends are hurting Halo Infinite? Or is it something a bit deeper that I'm not quite talking about? Thank you for watching the video, and
I'm sorry, sir. It's time for you to leave.